Sun Systems includes a convenient journal copy function that greatly simplifies the process. Using journal reversal and copying, you can select one or more journals and repost them. If you are copying a journal, you can duplicate the original information except for certain fields that must be automatically overwritten to provide an audit trail. Journals that were generated in this fashion are marked as journal copies. There are certain conditions a journal has to meet in order to be eligible for the copying process. It must be in balance. It cannot include transaction lines that have been posted to memo accounts. All of the selected journals for the copy must have the same journal type. A journal included in the process cannot be a system journal. All journals included in the process must have a status of either open or hidden, and the journals must not be part of a saved set or an authorization batch. Let's go in and take a look at the actual process. We'll start by selecting Journal Reversal and Copy. The first screen that you will see is the filter screen, and this looks very familiar because it's the same screen that is used in the journal inquiry process. We're going to start by entering the first number in the first journal number in the range of journals that we want to include in the copying process in the journal number from field. So I'm going to enter journal number 222. Then I'm going to click the Tab button to move my cursor to the next field. The next field that our cursor will be moved to is the journal number 2 field, and this is where we put the last number in the range of numbers that we're going to include in our copying process. Since I entered the same number in both fields, we will only be retrieving one number to be copying, and I'm going to click OK. And here is the journal that we have selected for the copying process. Here we can select the transaction lines to be included in the copying function. I'm going to hold down the Control button while clicking the button to the left of each required journal line. Okay. And I think there's probably more, so we're going to make sure that we get the entire journal. And this is a big journal because it's a payroll journal. There are many, many lines. And that's all of them. And now what we want to do, now that we have highlighted all of the transaction lines that we want to include in this journal copying process, we're going to click the Review button. This is the Control Desk's in-tray screen, and it shows us all of the lines that we selected to be included in the process. It shows us these lines in a grid form. Now here I can go to this field at the bottom right side of the screen, the Report Process field. And from the drop-down list, I am going to select Journal Copy, and I'm going to click OK. It's going to take a minute because the system is pulling together all of the data for that particular journal. And now we're in the Journal Reversal and Copy's main screen. This is where the bulk of our work on this process will take place. If you have watched the Journal Reversal video, this is going to seem very familiar to you because it is exactly the same screen. Across the top, we have the header information, which includes the journal type as well as the journal numbers, which are included in our copying process. There are also two buttons, which are View JV Document buttons. These buttons are only used in the eDocs process. If we were using eDocs and wanted to check the various originating documents and the various documents that were produced from the system for this journal, we could click one of these buttons, but we're not going to do that. We don't need that for this particular transaction. So at this point, we need to complete the required fields, which are fields with white backgrounds, and we can post. The first field that we need to populate is the allocation marker for reversal field. Notice that a default value has been provided for you in this field. Also notice that there are a number of notes that are in bold font. These are to help you not make some common mistakes that many of our users have made when they're first learning how to use this process. These headers are not lined up very nicely. Reversals only should be over here above this column, and copy or reversals should be displayed over here above these two entries. So this is the information that we're going to use for our copying process. This tells us which allocation marker we probably want to use. The blank allocation marker would be our choice if we're going to do copies or reverses without any special action being attached to it. If we chose allocated only, it would match the original and the new journal using the allocation reference. So we will go ahead and use the blank allocation marker, which has been defaulted for us. The next fields that we need to be concerned about are the transaction date fields, and they are a set. Here again, a default value has been provided for you. You can accept the default value if that is in fact the value that we need. We can enter a new value, or we can just ignore this field and come over here and enter a value in the Use Original Transaction Date field. For a copy, we probably want to post this into a different transaction date. For instance, if you want to copy a payroll posting, you probably want to do it in the next month. So we will change this date to 11/11/2013. And I'm going to change the Use Original Transaction Date value to no. The next set of fields have to be populated, and again they have a default value. We're going to want to change this value so that the accounting period is appropriate for our new transaction date, and we're going to leave the Use Original Period value defaulted to no. I'm going to select no as the Use Originator ID and Date value because I am wanting to post into a different period and a different transaction date. By putting no here, it's going to accept my logged in user ID and the current date in the period and use those for the posting. Finally, we need to populate this field that says Suppress Business Rules, and I'm going to select no because the business rules have a reason for being in place, so I want to keep them. Now I'm going to click the Post button, and the system is going to take a few minutes to post this gigantic journal. So what we should get when we're done with this posting is a journal that exactly matches the journal that was previously posted last month, with a different transaction date, a different accounting period, and a different journal source and date. This is going to take a minute because there are a lot of lines in our particular entry. An information message will be displayed indicating that the batch program has completed successfully. Now it might be a little bit confusing because even if your posting process fails, you will see this exact same information message saying that the batch program completed successfully. And that's because the program did what it was programmed to do, and it did it successfully whether or not the posting went through. So we'll click OK to get rid of that message. And notice down in the lower left corner of the screen, the journal number 329 has been posted. So our journal was posted. And here is the journal listing with analysis, which pops after every journal entry into the system. Remember, this is just another ledger entry process. And if we go to the upper right-hand corner of our journal listing, we'll see the journal type is Pay. It will point out that we use the journal reversal and copy process to post this journal. And here is all of the information that we duplicated from the previous month. And it's going into our new accounting period and our new transaction date with the journal source attached. So that basically is the journal copying process. If you have, I can exit out of the journal reversal and copy screens at this time. If you have a recurring journal that has to be posted with very few modifications month after month, journal copying is a very handy way of doing that process rapidly.